Sorry about that. I was muted. Good evening. This is the Dominance Academy, and I'm your host, Mr. Justin. And man, I was just watching this video that an acquaintance of mine, actually, I'm going to be interviewing her. She lives in a 24/7 domestic discipline relationship with her husband. And so I'm going to have her on this month, and we're going to talk about what that's like, from her end. And she shares a number of different videos on her YouTube, just stuff that she finds interesting and so on. And she'd recently shared this one video about China and the current state of China, and how it's their situation is really messed up there. Where's my sound? I have no... Oh, that's why. So... All right, there we go. Yeah, so it's called The Deadly Crisis of Single Women in China. And this is it's a really interesting video. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but it's about 20 minutes long. And, they're looking at all the statistics, and 2022, the birth rate is like 1.2 children per woman. And this isn't enough to keep their economy going. So essentially by 2050, I think they said, by 2050, China won't be able to sustain itself because women are wanting to focus more on their careers, and they've got a very, just in general for men and women, they've got this thing called 996 is what they call it. And it's where the idea is basically, and it was started by the dude who created Alibaba. And he said, in order to be successful, you have to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And so they have the majority of their working population just moving in this manner. And so they've got tons of working women, they've got working men, and the women are, making more and more money, and no one's wanting to make families. And so the population eventually is going they said by 2050, that half the population is going to be elderly that aren't going to be contributing to society. They're just going to be consumers, because old people just consume, they don't produce for the most part. So they've got a huge problem on their hands, and there's really no way to turn it around. There really isn't. They're like, China is fucked, and it seems the U.S. is on a similar trajectory. The marriage rates are going down. I don't know what the current birth rates are. What's up, King Solar Power? But things are not looking good, and so that's one of the things that we focus here on at the Dominance Academy, is because we are relationship centric, we are marriage supporting, and we like to see people creating families, because that is the backbone of every country, is our families. So and it always comes down to the man. It comes down to how he's leading, how he sees himself, and how he influences. And so that's really where all these problems come from. And a lot of guys, they won't want to accept that. They won't want to accept the fact that it's on the shoulders of men to change things. If you look at the laws, all the laws, they were set by men. Things that go through Congress, that's all men. If you look at the lawyers, police forces, the Constitution, like just all the structure that allows people to do the things that they do to live their lives, it was all created and sustained by men. So it's if things are slipping, it's because we are slipping. All right. It's on the shoulders of men to change things, and it starts with individuals. I don't really think that you can legislate this sort of change. You can't force women to get married. Maybe in the future there might be some incentives, like we'll give you tax breaks or something like that, or we'll give you like bailout money or some shit like that to get, like, we'll pay you to get married and start a family, and we'll give you a bonus for every child that you have, like that sort of stuff. And then it's just going to become even more business oriented, where it's just going to be people getting together so they can have greater tax breaks on top of the tax breaks of already being married. And then you'll get bonuses for having children. Like, I could absolutely see that happening in the future. It's a sad state. So it really starts with the individual, because I really don't think that it's going to come from legislation. I think it's going to come from individual men being men and attracting women and doing what they need to do to lead and create and start families. This is how it's always been, and it's never going to change. The things that we teach at the academy are timeless. They're not things that change with modern men and modern women. At the academy, there is no modern anything. There's just men and women. And this is the way it's always been, and the way it's always going to be. I don't care how many identities there are. I don't care how many different career paths there are. At the very core, we don't change. The things that we find attractive do not change. Like the things, like the very root of things, the things that cause us to procreate, like that deep level, that's never going to change. All right. And this leads us into why, what's up, King Ken? This leads us into the topic, women are ruthless. And so, guys who don't have a lot of experience, they'll get played, they'll get manipulated. And from their end, they think that they're getting played and they're getting manipulated. But the truth of the matter is there's actually very few intentional manipulators that are out there. Right? These are like this people who are on the spectrum of being a sociopath and things of that nature. They're actually quite rare. For the most part, it's a misinterpretation by the receiver that they're being manipulated. But that's mostly because the person is uneducated, they're ignorant, mostly ignorant of themselves, and they have no skills, and they're just kind of basically moving off of their emotions. And still stuck with, certain social conditionings, Disneyism type shit. And, and then they get played and they get angry and blame the woman. And they think that women are ruthless, which they are, but it's nothing that's actually conscious. It's something that starts deep within from that core that I'm talking about regarding their attraction levels, right? Or their, the sources of their attraction. Okay, so the reason why women have to be ruthless is it's because of their innate sexual programming. They're wired to survive. They're wired to survive in any way possible. So when this comes to men, this is what causes them to scan men, to test them. And like I said, a lot of this stuff is typically unconscious. They're not really doing this, intentionally, like with intentional thought, like, all right, I'm going to see how emotionally stable he is. And I'm going to start acting out and then observe while I'm acting out how he's going to be taking it and how he moves forward through the situation. They're not that premeditated about these things, okay? Because to be that premeditated would put them on the spectrum of being a sociopath. And of course, guys who don't have a lot of experience with women will say, well, yeah, they're all sociopaths. That's how they all are. They're not. It just appears that way because you have little experience with them. Really, these behaviors come from a subconscious place that's wired to their survival mechanism to find the strongest man within their reach, okay? The strongest man that they can actually mate with. And by strong, it's not just physically strong. Like, yes, they want someone who has good genetics, okay? They want someone who is physically capable of certain things. But it's also having mental resilience and emotional resilience. Like, you don't get confused easily. You don't get tricked easily, all right? So this is having that mental strength. And having emotional strength is not being able to be thrown off of your position by anything on an emotional level. You don't get upset. You don't cry. You don't whine about stuff. You don't get angry. You don't get rageful. Nothing really moves you too far off center. Okay. And, and like, I've been mad, right? I've been mad like these last few years, when things are like really, really coalescing. I've been mad, but it's never really been enough to make me deviate, where I start reaching out beyond my stance of where I am internally, because I know what an embarrassment that would be to myself. I know the cost of that. I know that it doesn't ever really serve me or anyone else. Okay. So, but subconsciously she's reading these things and she can see if you move. All right. And, I'm working with a new guy. He just signed up for the coaching, and, unfortunately he's going through a divorce, and his wife is all over the place. First she's okay, first she's cool, a little bit cheerful, and then like later on she's super cold, and really distant, and like maybe a little bit bitchy. And he's sort of trying his best not to follow her reactions. All right. And so this is the thing, when a woman is being herself, when she is being a woman, in the same way that if you were to see a tiger on a nature channel, and that tiger is, just acting like a tiger, it's running around and, swimming. Tigers like to swim, or killing stuff. You're not judging the tiger. You're not, thinking it's this or it's that. You're just letting it be a tiger. Like, you understand. It's like, hey, it's just a tiger. The same way is what you do with women. You just treat them and understand that they're just a woman. Like, the problems come from when you've got emotional attachments and you're expecting certain things in order to feel a certain way. And when she can sense this, that's when you get into trouble, because that's when it becomes conscious. Okay. So her unconscious, like observations and her emotions based on your behavior will then feed her conscious mind certain information. And then that's when the situation becomes conscious, and that's when it's a problem, because now it's like, oh, this guy's acting like a little bitch. He's getting moody. All right. He's getting moody. He's following my lead in that sense, where I get upset, he gets upset. I get sad, he gets sad. I'm happy, he's happy. I'm cool, he's cool. I'm distant, he's distant. And this is the thing that's going on in this guy's crumbling relationship. And, and I asked him recently, I said, what would you do if you didn't have to pretend, right? Because he said that he was going home and pretending that everything was okay and everything was cool. And I said, so what would you do if you weren't pretending? If you were just really honest about, what's going on inside you? And he said that he would probably be like she is. He would probably, stay somewhere else. He would probably be just as cold and just as distant, and and just basically do what she's doing. And so in that sense, if he were to act that way, he would be telling her that I'm not emotionally resilient, that I have no emotional competence, no intellectual competence, and that whatever you do, I'm susceptible to it. And then you're going to watch me react all over the place based on what you're doing. So that's what the woman is seeing, and that's what she's understanding. And this is entirely weak. This displays weakness to her. And so I said, listen, you gotta have the 3 S's, right? The 3 S's is being strong, stoic, and what's the other one? Stable. So strong, stoic, and stable. And so these 3 elements is what, on the very least, shows her that you can't be moved. That no matter what she does, no matter how she's feeling, no matter what's going on in life, no matter how she's coming at you, you are strong, stable, and stoic. Okay? And this in dating and your relationships, in your marriages, this is the thing that allows her to see you as this immovable thing. And there's a bit of a love-hate with it. There's, like, on one hand, there's love because she sees you as someone that is reliable. That even if she's freaking out, even if she's having a bad day, or she just is being a little bit bratty, right? That you can be unfazed by it, and it's not like you can handle it. It's not like that. It's just you're simply unfazed. Okay, because to say you handle it or you can handle it, that means you're taking it on. You're taking it on and you're dealing with it. Okay, by being unfazed, you're not taking it on at all, right? It's like water off a duck's back, right? Because ducks have oil in their feathers. That's how they can stay in water all day long and not get drenched. All right. Their body produces oils that cover their wings, it covers their feathers, and it deflects the water. So you have to be the same way. You have to have oil on your mind. You have to have oil on your heart. All right. And no matter what's going on there, it just slides right off. You don't have to deal with anything. All right. And in that oiling of your mind and your heart, it actually allows them to stay preserved. Okay. They stay preserved and they then can operate more cleanly. Right? Because imagine if the duck's feathers would get waterlogged. They wouldn't be able to swim very well, and they certainly wouldn't be able to fly. So in being able to repel that wetness, it gives them freedom to move effortlessly. And that's what happens when you have, say, the oil on your mind and on your heart. You can move effortlessly. You can think effortlessly. You can feel and love effortlessly. Okay? Because, like I said before, in many videos, it's your ability to let go that actually allows you to love women. If you're attached to them, you cannot love them. You're actually, like, what you think is love is actually your issues playing out through your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, making you think that it's love. But really you've got, pardon me, you've got codependency. Sorry about that. Really, you've got codependency, and you need that stimulation from her in order to feel good. And when you feel good, when you get that stimulation and you're feeling nice, then you're like, ooh, I'm in love. All right. Or I feel love, or I feel like loving. Okay. Because you're getting the supply that your issues need in order to feel good about the situation. All right. But that's not real. That's not real. That's like a drug transaction between a dealer and a user. In order to truly be able to love, you have to be completely letting go of the woman, even though she's right in front of you, even though she's in the palm of your hand. So this is, you know, some like more advanced I guess if you want to call it emotional game or whatever you want to call it, but it's just emotional. It's more advanced. It's more mature emotional state to be in, where you can remain calm and detached, but not so detached that you're across the room. You're right there. You're still present. So you can still be in the situations and still feed into the situations and still be able to be present and to enrich your situations. But you're not in it to get something out of it so that you feel safe. Okay? Because once she gets the sense that you are becoming more attached emotionally, all right, and these things will be, what do they call it? The kids call it catching feelings, okay? She will sense you catching feelings. And at that point, this is when she backs off, which is counterintuitive to all the stuff that you guys are programmed with, by literature, by film, by music, about the woman wanting all of these things, all these nice emotional things, okay? And it's true and it's false at the same time. Because yes, they want the emotional fulfillment from her man, but she doesn't want it to come from him. She wants him to bring it out of her. So this is where your communication comes in. This is how you can make her feel the love that she wants to feel. She doesn't give a shit about your feelings. She's not sitting there going, oh man, I really hope that he feels a certain way. She's hoping that she feels a certain way. Right? Yes, of course, like, a woman wants a man who like loves her back, but she knows that by how she feels. She feels love, and therefore she believes her man loves her. Do you see what I'm saying? It's completely one-sided, completely solipsistic. Okay? Solipsism is the philosophical idea that only one mind exists. And women have, I say this jokingly because it's not real solipsism, but it's like women are solipsistic in that sense, that they think that like their experience is the only experience happening in life. But this is how they move. Like I literally have this happen almost every time I'm with my woman. Like I'll be telling a story. She'll say like, oh, hey, tell me what's going on with your clients. And I'll just like, pick one of like a recent event and, what's going on. And I'll tell the story and how his interactions with a woman or something like that. And she won't talk about that situation. Immediately, she'll be like, well, I did this, and like when in my experience, when I did this, and then like this happened to me, and this how it makes me feel, and it's just a natural self-internalizing and self-translating everything through their own emotional selves. Again, it's the tiger. It's a tiger tiring. It's not anything to be upset about or to judge or anything like that. It's just how women are. Okay. So they're just seeing it through their own lens. And so when they say, oh, I want to feel from my man, they're not saying I want to feel his feelings. They're saying I want to feel more because of him. I want to feel more myself because of him. Right? Because I can't even fathom it. But if you could possibly imagine what it's like processing reality as emotionally as women do, to get positive emotions must be phenomenal. It must be this really huge pump up that must be amazing. All right. I just have to assume this, because everything with them, it seems very intense, or it can be extremely intense. Like to whatever degree that I've seen a man be upset about a certain something, it's like 10-fold or 50-fold when a woman might be processing the same sort of thing. And it's because of the potency of their emotions and how they use that to not use it like a tool, because they can't like not use it, but how that allows them to process reality. So if they're feeling good about their man, they're feeling love about him, they're feeling attraction, I imagine it's got to be incredibly intense. And you can see it, like when a woman is like really into her man, like she will worship him. She will be absolutely all about him. And she may not say it all the time, she may not display it all the time, but she will be like thinking about him all the time, considering him all the time, doing little things to care for him all the time. And in her world, there's like a lot of consideration and a lot of care. And that's when, if the guy isn't doing certain something, or she's got expectations and so on and so forth, now because internally she's extended so much, okay, that when you slight her, that's when she's like blown out of the water, because she feels that she's invested so much. But that's just a natural thing that's happened. It's not like a choice that she's made. Man, I don't know what's in my throat tonight. So, but yeah, they're intense. They're absolutely intense. But you know, again, this is part of their survival mechanism. It's all tied together. It's all tied together with women. And so, if they're intense, if they get influenced by things, because you absolutely can influence a woman to feel certain things. You can literally, I mean, if you're that sadistic and that manipulative, you can literally guide her emotions and change them like you're flipping channels on a television based on what you do and what you say. And you can literally take her from happiness to sadness to anger to joy to confusion to hope. You can just flip right through all the channels. It's really wild. You can absolutely do this. If you've got the influence and you have the ability to communicate this way, and you have a devious mind, this is something you can absolutely do. Because they just have this part of their nature to be influenced. So because that's there, they cannot just choose anyone to sleep with. They cannot just choose anyone to procreate with. Okay? And that's why there's so many confused guys out there. Because they're like, the guys that, like, say, you know, other men might look at them and go, why are you having problems? Right? You're tall, you're good looking, you're successful. Why are you having issues with women? Why are you single? Why can't you find a woman to get married and so on? And it's because of those internal things. Because having a good job does not mean that you are strong and stable and stoic. It doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that internally your heart and mind have the oil on it like a duck's back, where anything she does just slides right off, just like it's nothing. You know, I told my client tonight, I said, listen, a man has a mountain's mind. And whatever she's doing, whatever she's saying, whatever, is like a little bird. Like a little bird to that mountain. Now, it's not to say that she's worthless or anything like that. It's her behaviors. Her behaviors, her moods, the things that come out of her mouth, this, that, and the other, okay? The bird is great. The bird is fantastic. The bird is lovely, okay? But it's the behaviors. That's what it's just like this little thing. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Can't affect the mountain. It's just a bird. And eventually it's going to get tired and then find some place to sit down and rest. All right? But, you know, guys, they just look at the end of things without really knowing. And, what's up, Kevinism7? Good to see you, man. Yeah, it's, you know, the guys, they don't know, and then they receive this ruthlessness. But I just wish they knew. Like, I just wish that guys could know these things so that they could really see the other sides of women's nature. It's wild. Like to one guy, a woman will be a complete bitch, and he'll think the worst of her because he didn't know, and he got played, and his emotions did this and did that. And then the same woman could be interacting with a different guy, and she's figuratively and literally on her knees, happily kissing his hand and asking him, what can I do for you today? How can I help you today? Or just having the motivation to put a smile on your face, or to figure out how she can support him. Like, they don't realize that within women, they all have the capacity, because that's at their core. Like, women have a naturally submissive core that it's just part of it. It's part of their makeup. All right. And that's just the way things go. But if you're never the type who can elicit this sort of reaction out of women, you're never going to see it. You're never ever going to see the truly beautiful side of women, of what it's like to be worshipped by a woman. And this is something that I want for all guys. Like, it sucks that most guys will never get to see that side of a woman where she's truly worshiping you. You know, and that's sad. What's up, Curtis? Good to see you, man. Thanks for tapping in. But yeah, that's what I want for all guys. You know, I want all guys to be able to experience what it's like to have a woman who's that into them, that's that supportive, you know, wants the best for you, and then does things to help that along, right? That's the dream, right? That's the dream, to have this woman. But these guys who only see that one side of things, they only see that ruthlessness of a woman, and they think that's all they are, right? And so they go red pilled, and they're like, man, you know, the society says that women are sugar and spice and everything nice, but really inside they're just piss and vinegar. And it's not true that women are sugar and spice and everything nice. You just have to be the chef that can bring that out. Okay? Because they can't bring that out to just anyone. They can't. It's inherently dangerous to their survival. And this is what guys are doing. They're trying to browbeat women into being more receptive to them, which is bizarre, right? Like honestly, if guys could, I think they would just rather beat women into submission. Like, if they could, that's probably what they would do. And but that's not real, right? Like I copied this thing. I can't remember where I got it from, so I couldn't credit the author, but I put it in my stories, and it was this post. What did it say? Let me just find this here. Oh, a dominant does not force his submissive to kneel, he inspires her to. And this is really the crux of it all, right? Because who you are affects her, right? Because I said women they're influenced, because it's just part of their makeup to be influenced by stuff, okay? And that's what makes them great at the same time, all right? But it's also what they realize this, and they have to hold back, all right? And this is after they have their phases and things like that, and they're like, oh shit, like there's guys who will actually take advantage of this part of me that I can kind of sort of control. And, you know, as they get older and wiser, and then they learn how to not be so easily influenced. All right. And then guys meet these women and like, oh, they're hardened. You know, I've got some guys who are out dating and things of that nature. And they're coming across women who are divorced. They've got kids, and these women are hardened, right? They've got their sensors up to watch out for another man who might, rake them through the coals, just like the previous guy did, right? Now, whatever their situation may actually be, I don't know, but emotionally, they're just like, well, fuck, I'm not getting played ever again. I'm not, making this mistake again. So I'm gonna have my guard up. Okay, I'm gonna have my guard up, and I'm not gonna let this happen again. So and of course, like, my guys, they don't spend any time dealing with that sort of thing. I give them like a couple different ways to navigate initial conversation. And if you join the academy, this is, some of the things that you'll learn. But if they don't quickly and easily, effortlessly respond and start, hitting the ball back, then they learn from me to just let it go, right? Because you just got to understand that some women have had experiences where their armor has layers to it. They got layers of armor. And it's just life. You can't judge them for it. Things just happen, and you just let them be, because if I've seen it time and time again, I've experienced it when I was younger, where you're like, the hero complex comes out, like, I can do this, you got your chest out and your fists on your hips, and your cape comes out, and your Captain Save-A-Ho uniform comes on. And you're like, I can do this, even though they're not hoes, but they're just like, they're protected, and the hero complex comes out. And you're like, I can do this. I can break that armor. And it's very poetic, right? It's very romantic, but it's a bunch of bullshit. And you waste a lot of time, you waste a lot of energy, and then you think you get played. That's the thing. You think you get played, but you're not actually getting played. You're just expending your energy incorrectly, and you don't know what you're doing. Because if you knew what you're doing, you would just see that there's some resistance there, and then you just leave it alone. You're like, all right, that's fine with me, But guys get caught up, and then they're like, oh man, she's so beautiful. Oh man, this is such a challenge. Ooh, I'm gonna be her hero. It's just layers and layers of bullshit. All right. What's up, Woo? Good evening, Mitch. Good to see you, man. So yeah, don't think you gotta put on a hero, because heroes, what do? They fight battles. They accept challenges. They want to overextend in order to save the day. You're not a hero, okay? You're only a hero until you have a family. But there's no need to be a hero for people who are too badly injured and they've got layers and layers of armor on. Just leave them be, okay? They're going to become somebody else's problem, all right? So this is what I tell my guys, and they just leave them alone. After like a first couple back and forth, if there's any kind of reluctance or any kind of resistance, hey, like, I don't meet men right away. What are the things that I hear? I don't meet men right away. I like to have a conversation online first. That's fine. I can respect that. I like to get to know a woman in person. If you change your mind, I'm available on Thursday. And you just keep it short and sweet like that. And no matter how beautiful she may be, okay? Because it doesn't matter at that point. I say this time and time again. I will take an obedient 6 over a disobedient 10 any day of the week. Any day of the week. That's because if the 10 is disobedient, what's the point? She becomes useless at that point, except for like eye candy. And then at that point, the eye candy gets tarnished because behavior and willingness, openness, if that's not there, it just completely tarnishes one's image. You know, in the same way where a woman could see a guy and look at his attributes, look how he's dressed, look how he's moving, and think all sorts of great things about him. And then she talks to him and is a complete moron. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to lead a conversation. And so all of those perceptions, all of his hotness of whatever she perceives as hot, it just gets ruined. It just crumbles right in front of her. And she's like, damn, you were so cute until you opened your mouth. And this is the case for a lot of women. The case for a lot of women, yes. Heroes only react to villains. Villains inflict themselves on the world. Yeah, that's true. The villain archetype is really interesting, because villains, they're self-focused. They're focused more on their plans. Okay, whereas the hero's plan always involves the woman and always has her first. Okay. Or the good of the people and that sort of thing. All right. The villain is like, here's my one little plan. And, sometimes it's to take over the world or to rob the US Mint or whatever. I don't know. But they have this singular plan. And he'll take the girl because she's there. But he's not taking her because he really wants her or really needs her. Okay, she just happens to be there, and it's something he can do, so he just takes, right? And this is, this is something that's lost on a lot of guys. It's really lost on a lot of guys because they're afraid. You guys have been so conditioned to have fear about being canceled. You have fear about the R word. You have fear about Me Too. But those aren't real fears, though. Okay, those fall into the category of plausible deniability. Okay, because the real fear is I'm afraid she's not going to like me. That's really what it is. So the guy instead of admitting that truth, he tells himself, I'm not going to involve myself with a woman or that woman or whatever, because I might get Me Too'd. I'm not going to involve myself with any woman because she might take me to divorce court, or she might, claim the R word after sleeping with her for a few times and she gets upset. All right. Those things can happen. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that I think most guys who are saying these things, they're saying it because they're scared. They're scared of being rejected. And the only reason why someone has fear of rejection, I mean, think about it, is because they don't think they're good enough. That's the only thing behind fear of rejection. If you're scared of being rejected by women, it's because you're already rejecting yourself. There's no other explanation. Because all that other stuff, that's fanciful, Oh, she's going to Me Too you. No, she's not. No, she's not. Oh, she's going to call me a creep. Well, she's going to call you a creep if you're acting creepy. Like that's the truth of the matter. All right. But does a villain give a shit? No. A villain does not give a shit. He dresses how he wants to dress, moves how he wants to move, talks how he wants to talk, does whatever the hell he wants. And, in stories, they overblow it, they expand and overcharacterize that villain archetype. And so him doing whatever he wants usually entails breaking the law in some way. Okay. Which is also something that's very attractive to women, right? Women are attracted to risk taking. Okay, and not just risk taking, but successful risk taking. Okay, this is why sports players are seen as attractive, right? So it's like the guys at half court and the buzzer goes, he's probably got like a 1 in 100 chance of making that shot, but he takes it anyways. You know, the timer's running out and it's like he's got to dive for that touchdown. And yeah, he might get pummeled. He might get bones broken because there's 3 defensemen that are going to fucking destroy him, but he's going for it anyways. Right? He gets the win. Okay? Like, people say that business idea is stupid. That's never going to work. Look at this, look at that, look at that. Your idea just never going to happen. No, you know what? I'm going to do it anyways. And then it works. So it's not just the risk taking, right? Because it doesn't look so good if you're like going for the touchdown, you dive and you're 3 feet short, right? Or you invest all this money, or you take out loans or whatever, and your business flops. Or you go for that half court shot at the buzzer and it completely airballs into the crowd. So it's successful risk taking, which is really attractive. Okay. But guys don't want to take that risk. They're like, well, you know, really smart guys. It's really smart guys who look at stats. They're like, well, you know, chances are 1,000 to 1. So I think I'd rather not. And they think about this in terms of everything, right? So they're not going to put themselves out there. They're not going to risk starting that business. They're not going to go for the touchdown. They're not going to go for the half court shot because in their head, they've got a greater chance of missing than not missing. So they choose to not to do anything at all. And this is inherently unattractive. Not taking risks is unattractive. Right? It's about taking calculated risks so that you can have a better chance of winning of whatever it is that you're trying to do. But yeah, these, you know, and this is, again, going back to the villain. This is what the villain does. The villain's taking calculated risks. He's like, yeah, you know what? The hero might jail me. The hero might kill me. But you know what? Fuck him. I'm really not even paying attention to him. I'm focused on my goal. I'm focused on my plans. And women love that shit. They love the villain. But it's interesting because the villain is the true hero. Isn't that funny? So so even in stories, literature, movies, Disney, whatever, you can't have the villain win. Right? This is what was so almost devastating to a lot of people when there were, you know, especially people who were not familiar with comics, and they only gained their knowledge of Marvel through the MCU, and they're watching Endgame, and they're like, no, they're gonna beat him, and then Thanos is like, snap, nope, you didn't beat the bad guy. And the whole time, like, with the writing was fantastic because the more you listen to Thanos and listen to his reasoning and things like that, you're like, I can see his point. I can see his reasoning. This bad guy is not so bad. He's not this evil villain, you know? He's got reasoning behind his actions, you know? He's just not crazy out here, you know? He's got purposeful thought behind what he's doing. And so it's rare that you'll see the villain not being portrayed in classic villain ways. Okay? Because we have to make the villain lose in the end. And prop up this hero that is all about the things that are supported in society, that society makes a lot of money from, and all this. Okay? That's why we can't have the villain, because the villain is, I mean, imagine if we had a culture that glorified villainy, where it's basically being self-serving, doing what you want and things like that. And there are people who are out here doing that sort of thing, and they become vilified They're like, don't listen to that guy. We must cancel him. It's like, I don't think Andrew Tate's a great dude. Maybe he is, and this is just a persona that he puts on for social media. But just the idea that he was canceled, right? He's just an individual. He's just talking, right? And like, no, you're influencing, right? Because he's influencing people to, well, some young people to think like he does, which is unfortunate. But I think one of his main messages was to think for yourself. And that's what the villain does, right? The hero thinks of everybody else first, and they think about himself last. That's what the hero does. And we prop that up in culture. Okay? The funny thing is, though, is that, because women are privy to that same sort of storytelling and the narratives all throughout their, while they're forming their minds and their beliefs and perceptions of the world, they learn to want that. Okay? But that's not what actually moves them. And this is what confuses guys who develop nice guy syndrome. Guys who become or try to become the hero. Okay? And they're like scratching their heads. They're like, I don't get it. I'm the hero. I look like the hero. I sound like the hero. I do what the hero does. Yet I get used by women. I get ignored by women. I can't keep a woman. What's going on here? I don't understand. I'm super confused. And then, the villain, he's just walking by. He doesn't even fucking give a shit. He's like, just roll, wringing his hands, thinking of his crafty plans and all the fucking shit that he's going to get into. And he's like super excited about his plans. The girl is like, what's up with you? Right, goes right over to him. And just really wants to know this type of person because he's free thinking. He's not bound by the prison of his own mind. Unlike the hero who doesn't even realize that he's got a prison in his own mind. And so she's like, oh, look at that interesting thing over there. Let me see what's going on with that, right? And then he doesn't really give a flying rat's ass about her, right? He cares about his mission, okay? He's not affected by her bullshit, right? Because he's emotionally stable. He's stoic. He keeps things under control, and he's strong, okay? A different kind of strong than the hero, okay? And he's just strong to not put up with her crap. And so that's what moves them, right? Being good is great, okay? We don't need a society full of selfish assholes, okay? Being good is great, okay? But that's not what moves a woman. That's not what puts butterflies in her stomach, right? It makes her tingle between the legs and gets her mind racing, okay? And it's like you guys get stuck in these mental paradigms that say, well, if I'm like that, then she's not going to like me. I'll get canceled. She'll scream the R word. I'll have a case against me or whatever. And really that's really not the case at all. You're just scared that if you are too bold, you're scared if you are too assertive, if you put your intentions out there, if you stand on your word and your actions follow those words, that she's not going to like you. And you know what? She might not. The villain doesn't give a shit because he's not there to make sure that she likes him. He's just going to be like, you're good looking. I want you. Like, on a very basic level, right? That's all that's going through his head. It's just like, you're good looking. I want to take you. And it's because of all those other things that he has is what moves her. And she's like, okay, I'm into that. And this isn't the bad boy. I'm not talking about the bad boy. I'm talking about a villain. All right. Villain is much more, in my book, more intelligent than a bad boy. Okay. Because a villain is a grown man, not a boy. All right. The bad boy is just the other side of the nice guy coin. Right? The nice guy tries to avoid the pains of emotional attachment or detachment by trying to make himself so appealing that it's impossible to get rid of him, which ironically makes a woman get rid of him. The bad boy avoids emotional pain by not getting attached in a non-constructive way. Right? It's to protect his softness inside. Right? So they're both coping mechanisms that come from fear. Both of them. Okay? Just one looks cooler than the other. We make fun of nice guys more, right? But like bad boys who have an inability to get close to women, right? They're coming from the same place. It's the same protection mechanism. It just looks different on the surface. I'm not gonna let a woman get close to me, or I'm gonna make myself so unrejectable that it's impossible for her to reject me. Okay. So what I'm talking about is the villain. The villain is grown. He's not pedestalizing in the same way that a bad boy doesn't pedestalize. Okay? It's different. He's more driven. He's more driven by his own passions. The bad boy is still interacting with a lot of women all the time in order to get that drug, in the same way that the nice guy is constantly wanting to interact to get that drug. They just do different things to supply their need. Okay? And this is the sort of stuff. This is why, going back to the title, this is why women have to be ruthless. They have to protect themselves. Because if they procreate with a weak man, and weak in any respect, okay? So if we look at, say, emotional weakness can look like turning into a yes dear, okay? Do this, yes dear. Do that, yes dear. Do this, yes dear. Okay, that's a yes dear. Okay, so emotional weakness can look like a yes dear. It can be, overly emotive in the sense that you cry easily, you get upset easily, you get frustrated easily. But then another form of emotional weakness is getting defensive, getting angry. All right. Just emotional instability with any emotion. So the volatile, say like the bad boy with a chip on his shoulder. All right. He's just as bad as the nice guy who can cry at a drop of a hat. Okay. They're both weak. They're both frightening. And so this is why women have to be ruthless to try to weed these things out. Okay. The problem that women have is that some characteristics of your typical bad boy are the same things that you might find in a dominant man, where they're not completely focused on her. Ooh, that's attractive. And she comes running, come pay attention to me, right? And, being assertive, being self-absorbed, right? These things are more what you would also find in a dominant man, all right? But the bad boy carries some of these traits, so she's drawn to that, okay? But oftentimes, there's a whole bunch of other traits that are necessary there to call oneself a man that aren't there, right? He's emotionally volatile, or he's completely emotionally detached, to the degree of, remember I said not across the room, he's across the room. All right? Because he's trying to stay as far away as possible. This because it's a mode of protection. It's how he stays safe. But it's propped up as cool. No, I'm being cool, right? No, being cool is being able to be close. Having a woman eat out of the palm of your hand, and you're not moved by it in any direction. And you can care for her, you can love her, but you're not fearful in any direction about any of it. Because you're not looking at it like you want something in return. You're not trying to get something because your cup is full. So there's no need for what she adds. What she adds is extra. And so if the extra is gone, you're still full. Nothing is affected. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. But they gotta do what they gotta do. These women out here, they have to. And it's almost like they can't even control it. They can't control what they do. But I mean, could you imagine what things would look like if women were to... One second. Okay. Kitten had to go to sleep. So yeah, where was I? Yeah. The ruthlessness. But it's funny though, because when you're on the other side of the street, you almost can like respect the ruthlessness because you understand what it's there for. It's so she doesn't have to spend her life with a loser, okay, on some level. Okay, either a loser on an external level or a loser on an internal level or both. Okay. So when you see it from this side of the street, you can kind of respect it for what it is, okay? Because it's not like they have the brute force, right? They have to be cunning. Women have to be cunning to move through the world. All right. They have to be very clever. And in order to, help find themselves someone who's suitable to procreate with, unfortunately, because of what I explained before of how the bad boy can have certain traits of a dominant man, then she gets roped in with this guy sometimes and ends up having children with this type of guy sometimes. And then she's stuck with that situation. And she's like, fuck, I got fooled one too many times. Right? And this is why women, what they mean when they say, where are the good men? And it's so funny because the caped up hero nice guy, they're always raising their hand. Here I am. Or what do they say? You ghosted him in high school. Or they say, he's in your DMs. No, he's not. No. You guys are in her DMs, right? Hero nice guys are in her DMs. Hero nice guys were the dudes that she blew off in high school, college, or whatever time frame they want to reference. Men are not in her DMs. Take this upon yourself right now, okay? Unfollow every woman on social media who does not bring you some sort of intellectual value. If you're following a woman simply because you think she's attractive, get rid of it. Get rid of the account. It serves you no purpose. This is not an activity of a man. This is an activity of a horny or love-struck young boy. Men don't follow women. What for? What for? Oh, she's got some cakes. Okay, great. And well, like looking at them. Oh, okay. What does that bring you? What benefit to your life does that bring you? Because you're not going to get her. And if you did, you probably wouldn't know what to do with her. So what's the point? Right? Don't follow women on social media. Like, unless they're, some sort of like educator, they've got some great information about business or health or, something that you're into, that they have knowledge on, that they're sharing, and you're like, okay, these are good, engaging posts. I'm learning some stuff, whatever. Okay. But if it's not that, unfollow her. There's no point to following a woman. I don't even follow my own girlfriend. Yeah, thank you, Real King. Yep. The behavior of a mature, grown man. Yeah, I mean, it's like you have to. Okay, so here's like a couple of like little tips, okay, to kind of help you shift your mindset to becoming more manly, if you want to call it that. And I got this one from Joe Rogan, actually. When you're going through your daily life, imagine you have a camera crew with you, right? Filming every moment of your day. Try to do this, okay? And if you really take it seriously, you're going to find that you do some stupid shit with your time, some useless shit with your time, some embarrassing shit that you do with your time that would not be conducive with being a fucking man, right? So that's one thing, okay? So imagining the camera crew with you 24/7 every single day of the week, okay? The next thing you do is imagine your future self. It's sort of like the same kind of mental trick, but you imagine your future self reflecting on your present self. So you're the past right now, okay? And your future self is looking back at your present, which is his past. And what does he think of it? What does he think of what you're doing right now? Is he going to be proud of the fact that you're following 247 women on Instagram because they got great ass and nice tits? Is he going to be like, good job. That's my boy. That's my dude. Right? Or is he going to be like, what the hell was I doing with that shit? Why was I doing that? Why was I wasting my time looking at women just because they're there and because they're attractive? Who cares? Villains don't follow women on Instagram. Well, just because they're cute, all right? If they can help him with his devious plan, right? Then sure. Okay, if there's some value from it beyond her appearance, right? This is where the gold is, all right? But if it's just for appearance, ugh. So yeah, try those two things. Try, when you go throughout your day, imagine a full camera crew filming you and like streaming live, okay? And then also think of your future self reflecting on that future self's past self, which is your current self. All right. And then you'll see what sort of nonsense you're up to. right? Another thing you can do is actually just take notes. Take notes of all the things that you do. It's just a simple ledger, all right? 3:42 p.m., 8 tacos, right? Talk to my friend Bob for half an hour about blah, 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 right? Just everything you do. Try to do this for a few days, maybe a week even, and then look at that information, going back to it, and reflect on how you've spent your time. If it's sitting there saying, play Call of Duty for 3 hours, and you look back at that and you're like, what the hell did I play Call of Duty for 3 hours for? Don't you have important shit to do? Your villain is not going to be sitting around playing Call of Duty for 3 hours. Maybe an hour, okay? Just to blow off a little bit of steam, all right? But come on. Is the villain going to be sitting there on fucking Pornhub jerking off into his hand? No. No, he's not. He's passionately focused on the things that he wants to do in life. It says fuck all to anybody else. But the hero, he's always considering. He needs to consider, oh, man, what would mom think? What would my pastor think? What would my girlfriend think? What would my dad think? Who would, and it's like, bro, how old are you? 20s, 30s, 40s? Why are you acting like a teenager, considering the thoughts and feelings of other people about what you're choosing to do with your life? Okay? Because when you're like this, it's quite attractive to a woman. It really is. Like, yeah, she's going to want to spend time with you. And if you're not used to a woman who can really lavish herself on you, you're going to want to suck that up like crazy. And I'm warning you, when and if this happens to you, don't drink it all. You'll become a drunk. All right, you'll get drunk off of that stuff. Okay, which is why at the academy I preach having the position of professional distance. Okay, that's 12 inches back and 12 inches up. You're there, but you're not there. You're not fully there. Okay, you're still able to be present, but you have a bit of professional distance. Just in the same way that a boss, they can be close with their team, but they're not going to get buddy with them. I've seen this. I've seen this in my past, where the manager would consistently getting on the same level as his subordinates, and it'd be like hanging out, joking around, blah blah blah, and it's like. Then when it was time to get shit done and he had to put on his manager hat and his manager voice, they were like, whatever, dude. All right, I'll get to it. Right? The loss of respect is there. Okay? So in the same way, when you get down on the same level as the woman, she cannot respect you. She will lose respect for you if she cannot look up at you, even if listen, she doesn't have to look up at you as if you're high up on a mountain, okay? As long as it's higher than her, okay? It can be 2 inches higher, but if her gaze is just 2 inches higher, that's still higher, okay? So if you can't handle being 12 inches back and 12 inches up, and you can only do 2 inches back and 2 inches up, fine. That's still being 2 inches back and 2 inches up. You're not right there at like 0.0, right? Because when you're eye to eye, now you're equals. And she doesn't want an equal. She wants a man that she can look up to. She wants a man she can look up to. And no, this has nothing to do with your looks, your money, or your status. It has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with your internal structure. And like, dudes will not believe it. They'll stick their fingers in their ears and say la 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 until their face turns purple because they watch too much bullshit on YouTube telling them that it's all about looks, money, and status. And without looks, money, and status, she can't look up to you. All right. Now, those things like can be important, right? Yes, you should take care of yourself. You should try to look your best. Absolutely not for the sake of a woman, okay? You should look your best because it makes you feel good. It looks good to look in the mirror and you're wearing nice clothes, your skin looks good, you smell good, you feel good, you look attractive to yourself. That's more important than any woman's perception of you, right? So yes, your looks should be well maintained, right? Your money, you should at least be able to take care of yourself and have some savings. All right. And your status, well, who gives a fuck? Right. If you want status, you can have status. To me, it's a bit of a fool's errand. Okay. It can help in certain things. Whatever. It's something if you want to go after, fine, go after it. Okay. Villain, I don't think is really concerned about it. Like if status is part of your plans, right? If it can help your plans, but status for the sake of status is hollow, right? They're like those idiots who are just like, I want to be famous. Why? I want to be famous. What? You just want to be well known? For what? Why? What's the point? And if the point is to get chicks, you're lost. You will fail miserably. Miserably. So what's really the important part, what really makes a true impact is your internal structure, your internal dialogue, your internal belief system. You hear it time and time again when women are asked, what's the most attractive quality in a man? She'll either say confidence or she'll say believing in himself, which is roughly the same thing. They will always say these are the most attractive things that a man can have. Because there's tons of dudes who are good looking, but they lack self-confidence. Tons of dudes who have money who lack self-confidence. Tons of guys who have status that lack self-confidence. And these things don't do anything for them. Sure, it might like attract a woman to you, right? But like I was saying before, both with the man and the woman example, but with the women, it's like, oh yeah, he was great until he opened his mouth, and then she can hear his truth. Just like Miles says, the truth is revealed in your words, right? Your words expose you. Well, women, as much as they're in the world of emotions, they're also in the world of communication, because often those go hand in hand. So she can hear where you're at based on the words you use, how you communicate. Hey, what's up, Dylan the Islander? Good to see you, man. I like that profile icon with that yellow there. It's good stuff. So yeah, it was funny. There was this guy, I was going through Instagram. I was just kind of looking through it and taking a little bit of a break. And I see this ad. And the ad was for this guy. And he was, at first it sounded like he was one of those dudes who's like, I can help you. I'm a marketing specialist and I can help grow your brand and all that stuff. It was set up in that way. It had the right same kind of camera angles. And, he had like the neon lights and he was sitting there like in a nice studio, with a microphone and all that shit. I was like, oh, okay, here's a marketing dude. And then he starts going on about women. I'm like, Okay, I'll stay and listen to this idiot. Let's see what he has to say. And he's like, today, it's like dating apps are dead. Cold approach is dead. What you really need is a good Instagram profile. And then he goes on and on about how, his company will help build your Instagram profile so that you can stand out and and attract the 10 of your dreams. And when I heard that, I was like, what the fuck is a 10 of your dreams? Like, who dreams about women? Like, it makes my head hurt. Who dreams about a 10? Like, first of all, like, I don't even know what the fuck a 10 is. Second, I don't know how you, like, that's what, like, young boys and girls do. They dream about this, like, Prince Charming. It's like, well, they're thinking of, like, Princess Charming. They're dreaming about Princess Charming. And it's like, okay, of course, he's marketing towards guys who, they're the hero nice guy, socially programmed bullshit. So that's his avatar that, he's trying to market to, and saying, well, these things are dead. You just need me and my team to grow your Instagram, and then you'll be all good. And I dropped a comment under his stuff, and I said, no, like, approaching women is the right way to go. Like, you have to learn how to talk, because yes, if you want to dress up your IG to treat it as like a marketing page for dating, by all means do it, right? It can't hurt. But eventually you're going to have to talk to women, like, face to face. All right. You're going to actually have to touch her. And if you don't know how to talk to her, and you don't know how to touch her because you're just this online hermit who's spent, I don't know, however much money this guy charges to dress up your IG account to become attractive, then you're kind of like Heath Ledger's Joker, right? And I bring this up a lot too, where he said, I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I ever caught one. It'd be like that. So you dress up your IG, everything looks fantastic. You look like you're this dude, big man on campus. And then you get these, girls in your DMs, or you can DM girls and they respond very easily. And next thing you know, you got these girls on the hook, and you don't know what the fuck to do next, because you have no experience with interacting with women in a meaningful and influential way. So then what's the point of the fancy IG? And I said something like that, but in shorter terms. And he said, cold approach is for antisocial losers. All right. In fact, he had a lot of negative comments to, like, anybody who said anything about, or just asking questions about his product. He was very negative. So I don't know what the whole point was, because when you're trying to sell something, you don't try to bash the people you're trying to sell it to. But anyways, so he's like, no, approaching is for antisocial losers. And I'm thinking to myself, what's antisocial about talking to women? There isn't. What's antisocial is building a freaking IG page as your dating marketing tool, and then not being able to talk to women after you attract them. That's being antisocial. That's antisocial behavior, is staying online. Because it's like, there are women are on their phones, women are on dating apps, they're on social media, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yes. This is one of the great ways to meet women. However, eventually you're going to have to talk to them. And if you don't have enough experience talking to women, then it's all going to blow up in your face. And then you're going to see her ruthlessness. And then you're going to blame her, thinking, oh, she was a bitch, right? But that's not the case. You're just an idiot. with no experience and too many emotions. You're not strong. You're not stoic. You're not stable. And she sees this and goes, bye. Right? But you gain these things through more experience, exposure therapy. If you're scared of talking to women, approach more women. Right? Like the first time, like before I went out onto a racetrack with my brother, I was scared out of my wits. And now, I mean, unless it's a brand new track that I've never been on before, I'm pretty calm because I've done it over and over and over again. Right? So now if, we got the bike cranked on the back straight and doing about 175, that's not scary anymore. But the first time, yeah, I was scared as hell. So the same thing applies. The thing you're afraid of, you must go and do. That's another good tip. All right. I'd say once a week at the very least. Okay. Once a week, do something that you're uncomfortable doing. Just do it. Like if you feel a thing, you like, oh, I want to do that thing. And then you immediately feel resistance to it. Take that resistance, squash it, and go do the thing. Whatever it is. And if you do this at least once a week, it'll benefit you. If you do it more, it's like 3-4 times a week, where you're seeking out these things, these uncomfortable situations or these uncomfortable tasks, this will benefit you greatly as a man, because one of the key characteristics, right, is strength. You cannot get strong without anything opposing you. You must have the feeling and the understanding through experience of opposition. And sometimes that opposition comes in the form of your discomfort. So do things that make you face discomfort so that you can gain more mental and emotional strength. Talk to a lot of women, right? Go do that adventurous thing that you wanted to do, that you just keep putting off, not because you don't have the time, not because you don't have the funds, but because it makes you uncomfortable. Go do the uncomfortable thing. So this is, these are key things, man. These are key things that are going to help you grow as a man. The one thing with the cameras, walk around. Pretend there's like a whole crew of cameramen all around you 24/7, and try to keep that mental framework intact for a week. And then do the same thing about your future self, reflecting on their past self, which is your present self. And once you get to think of what you're doing now. And then the last one of what I just mentioned. Do these things, face the uncomfortable things that you want to do. And you'll see yourself changing. You'll see yourself growing. And so it's like the pathway is this internal stuff. I got a question here from Dylan. Any tips on seeing two women in early days of dating? I've been seeing two consistently for about a month at alternating times. Just was wondering if you had any profound tips, as it's a new experience for me. I met both by approaching them as a stranger and telling them I'd like to take you on a date. Yeah, it's really that simple. It's really that simple. But as far as two women, I mean, it doesn't matter really. I would say, here we go, about this discomfort thing. Are you uncomfortable about telling them that they're not alone? If me saying that, suggesting that you don't keep these women in the dark, makes you uncomfortable, it means that you should tell them. Whenever I've dated more than one woman, I told the other women that they're not alone. That they have complete transparency. that they're not, and this works in your favor if they're very attracted to you. Okay, so if they're very attracted to you, they're very sexually attracted to you, right? As a baseline, by you telling them that you're seeing other women, it actually increases their tension. And it can, if their fear is higher than their attraction, they're going to go. If their attraction is higher than their fear, they will stay despite the discomfort. And that discomfort will add tension, and the tension causes more attraction and attachment. Right. So that said, you're not afraid to lose either, but I do think that they would leave if I told them. That said, what's more important? Transparency and honesty as a man, or keeping a woman around? Right? Because you know that you're keeping a secret. And then you might justify it to yourself like, well, what does that woman need to know my business for? Right? That just makes it plausible, right? Plausible deniability. So the right thing to do, right? Imagine your future self looking at your present self, saying, "What's the action of integrity?" Right? We want to move as men. There's no deception amongst men. Even villains, they put it right out there. Don't give a fuck. And it's like, that is a quick and easy test. Quick and easy test. That if there's serious levels of attraction there, it will be known. If they can't handle it, well, then that's fine. Can't handle it, you know. Then you say here, the right thing to do, of course, would at some point tell them I'm not exclusive with them. Yeah. Right? Because that is, so omission is the same thing as lying. It's just like a different kind of lying. Okay? Now, if one of your principles, now this is the thing. So this is where, you know, every man's constitution is different. Okay? Provided you've laid out your constitution. If on your constitution there isn't integrity, then there's nothing holding you to act with integrity, right? Or honesty. If honesty is not part of your constitution, there's nothing holding you to remain honest, okay? You know, like in the commandments, there's nothing in there that says thou shalt not steal the next man's cheeseburger. So you can, well, it does say, I think this is, shouldn't steal, but you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to say that if it's not on the thing, it doesn't have to be obeyed. So this is where each man's rules for himself are different, but it has to come from a true place, not a fear place or discomfort place or trying to protect the ego place, right? It has to really stand on something where you would actually die on a hill over these things, right? In the same way that, you know, the forefathers of the United States would probably die defending the Constitution that they drafted up. Okay. So if integrity, if honesty is in your Constitution, then you have to abide by it. It can't be swayed, be like, oh, well, she's cute. She might go away. Who cares? Right? As you waking up the next day knowing you're not full of shit. You look in the mirror and you're like, I'm not full of shit. Right? That's more valuable than anything on the planet. Like the guy who's full of shit, but he's got a Lambo and a house in Beverly Hills. I don't want to be in his place. Or he can't really look himself in the mirror. Right? He can't look himself in the eye in his own reflection because he knows he's full of shit. So he ignores that. He even deals with himself on a surface level. Right? I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I'd rather be poor living under a bridge and not be full of shit. Because I know I'd be living true. I'd be living real as a man. Complete realness. And when you're real with a woman, they may not like it, but they tend to respect it. And there was so when I was running a roster a few years ago, there was a few women on there. And right at the onset, we had gone out a couple times with each of these women, okay? Right at the onset, one of them ducked out. But she didn't have attitude about it or anything like that. And because she didn't have attitude about it, I could tell she respected my honesty. And I told all of them that they were part of a larger thing that was going on. My plans was to whittle things down to one, and that was it. And the first girl, she's like, that's not for me. I'm like, all right, cool. Right? Bless your heart. Okay. And she was cool too. But imagine had I not told these women, who knows what the hell would have gone down if I was lying to all of them, or if I was hiding the truth. I was obscuring the truth. I was omitting things. Damn, here we go again. What the hell is going on with StreamYard? It froze again. Man, that is just some weird shit. I don't know what the hell is going on here. So, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe my shit's overheating. I have no idea. I gotta write to them and see what the hell's going on. So, all right. Well, I've been going for about an hour and a half. Tomorrow, I'm streaming with Lucario. We're going to be talking about how to establish rules and maintain rules in a relationship. So that's what we're going to be going through. I think it's going to be really enlightening for a lot of people about how we actually run our relationships. Because I know he uses rules in his relationship, as do I. So we're going to be getting into detail about that. Probably what kind of rules that we have, and the P&Ls of that, profits and loss of having rules. Okay, because there's a cost. There's a bit of a cost to having rules around certain things. Okay, and just like the business owner, like the manager, okay, how the manager can't really be super buddy with his employees. The cost is that he can't be super buddy with his employees. He can't be close to them. They could be fantastic guys, okay? His team could be just full of incredible people that he would love to just, kick it with, right? But it can't be done. Right. So there's that cost of shit. I would like to get super duper down on your level, but I can't, because if I do, there's going to be more cost to that, and it's going to ruin both of us. So, but the profit of that, so that's the loss, the profit of that, by having rules and having systems in which you can uphold them, and there's an understanding, and of course, a certain level of agreement to these things, right? And my girl knows, like, she can bounce whenever she wants if things get, I don't know, just for whatever reason, they get too tough for her, or they just don't vibe with her anymore. I don't know, whatever it is. That she can leave whenever she wants. She knows this. But the open door policy only works on women who don't like you. They like you. The open door policy is kind of ignored. They don't see the door, and the fact that you have it open, they kind of take offense to that. But at the same time, it's double-edged. It's like it's offensive, but respect is there too, because it shows that you have the emotional resilience to let them go. And so we're going to be getting into rules, rule creation. Why would you have certain rules? Why would you have rules at all? What's the benefit of having rules? And it really, at least in my relationship, it centers things, right? Because it's like when you don't have rules, it becomes chaotic. Like, imagine a game, right? So like, a few kids get together, they're on a playground, and they're like, let's play a game. And then no one establishes any rules to it, but you say that there's a goal, right? And like, you have to take the ball, and you put it in that corner, or you can take the ball and put it in that corner, and then that's it. So it becomes like very chaotic, right? When all these kids are playing, and there's only the goal understood, but no rules about how the game is played. Once you have rules established, then your mind can get an understanding of the lay of the land and how you can work within the rules to get what you want. Okay? So people from the outside would think, well, shit, that sounds really restrictive, right? That sounds like, gosh, the guy has to have these, a lot of things to manage and things to consider. And, woman might say, well, that sounds entirely too restrictive and controlling, and she can't do what she wants. Okay. But when you have structure and there are a set of rules that are understood and agreed upon, then in order to get what one wants, they can more successfully get what they want with an understanding of the structure, because it gives them pathways to get these things, right? They know what to avoid, and they know what to do to kind of elicit the positive responses so they can get what they want, right? Like, I know when my girl is being a certain way so she can get a certain thing, right? No matter what it is. And so, but it's like always like operating within the system. But tomorrow I'll go into more details about that, because I know that might sound a little bit vague. But so yeah, me and Lucario, we're going to be going through rule creation, why you should have rules, what happens when you have them, what happens when you don't have them. I've experienced many relationships without rules, and you just kind of like go with it. And yeah, there's less responsibility for sure, but it's directionless. Like, it doesn't go anywhere. And this is why, like, she's like, well, what are we doing? Where are we going? Like, what, and I tell you, having rules, it automatically sets a baseline of A difference in placement and power. Especially if she's looking up to you and, she's into you and all that stuff. Like, of course, it wouldn't make sense to grant, right? To reward a woman with rules if she hadn't achieved her way and proven herself to become your woman in such a way that you're going to, create structure for her. Okay? Like, that's a lot of work, right? So it better be for somebody who has proven themselves that they can be in that position and handle it. Okay? Like, yes, if you've got that itch, that dominant itch, and you want to have like these power structures and power dynamics and things like that, yes, it actually can be quite fun. And it can be a thing that you can weave some creativity into it. You can actually, if you're slightly sadistic, you can even create situations in which she fails a little bit and ends up breaking a rule that you coerced her into breaking without her actually knowing it, so that you can deliver a punishment. Right? So, like, these things, if you're like that, then you can basically just take any woman. I'm talking about something about building. Okay? Now, people who like to play that way, they have like, they play partners and things like that, where it's understood, where there's that psychological blackmail and things of that nature, but it's understood. There's an agreement there, right? It's all consensual. Like, that's one thing. What I'm talking about is in relationships, okay, where you're aiming to build something, okay, and that's what I'm talking about as far as the benefits to having these rules, okay. Where they can be used for like anything. You can use them for habit change, education, behavior change. I mean, that's the main part, is behavior change, but you can use rules to encourage all kinds of change, right? I mean, it happens to us all the time in life, where, like, I'm here in New York, and the MTA says, well, this year we're hiking the costs for subway rides a whole 33 cents. And people are like, what the fuck? But they abide by it. They adjust, they adapt, right? Because they have to use it, So it's a bit of a shitty thing that they're doing. But my point is that there's all kinds of rules that are, affecting our behaviors, either forcibly or coercively, right? Things we don't even pay attention to, like with the speed limit. You're driving around town, it's 25, you get to the highway, and now it says 55, right? But you can't go beyond that, technically speaking, even though I do all the time. These are rules being imposed on your behavior. We're surrounded by rules, and many we don't even realize that we're subject to. But you can use these to control behavior. You can use these to bring about new behaviors and rid behaviors that you don't want. So there's a lot of great things that you can do within a relationship and having rules. I just wouldn't, we'll talk about this on the show, but like, I wouldn't have rules for like just like a dating thing. Like, who gives a shit, except of rudeness, right? But that's more of just like a human to human thing. That's more like a boundaries thing, not a rules thing. But anyways, so we're going to be talking about that shit 1 o'clock tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. We're getting down. I'll be coming onto his channel, and I'll stream it over to here if I can. So, but yeah, check out the site, dominancecacademy.com. I've got some PDF ebooks on sale for there. They're very reasonably priced. You can get each one individually, or you can just download the pack of 3. There's a few things on there, and certainly got some other things, cooking, I've got another book that I'm working on about how to be a fantastic lover. And so that's going to take a while to write, unfortunately. Excuse me. And some video ideas, video projects that I'm going to work out with my girl, but I got to get a better camera. And so I want to do some tutorials, some visual tutorials, because, video, you can stop and have explanations. She can weigh in on like her experience of it. So, I want to do stuff about like, just like basics of BDSM. Things like choking, spanking, slapping, bondage, using certain tools, using certain toys. So, I can explain from my ends, like my mindset and what the experience is of on my end. And then she can kind of weigh in of what her experience is on her end. And we can go through it like that. So I think those videos would be very helpful and very informative, especially for like the BDSM stuff, where there needs to be, I think, some more explanations so we can avoid injury or getting ourselves into precarious situations. So, all right, so that's all I've got for you guys today. I'm going to wrap this up, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.